Hey, everybody, welcome back. Look at that. You're getting a standing ovation. John Dickerson. America's sweetheart, John Dickerson, is here. What are Republican senators that you've spoken to saying behind closed doors, if you had a chance to, about the prospect of sitting for the impeachment trial in the Senate? Because it really does look like there's going to be an impeachment in the House.
Well, I was smiling only because all politics is local. One of the first things they're all coming to grips with, if there is a trial, is that in the trial they cannot have their phones with them. They can't pass the time by, whatever one would do on a phone, and they can't talk with each other. So it's like being back in third grade. You have to stare straight ahead, pay careful attention, and so they're thinking, first thought is about the actual process of going through the trial. What are they thinking about politically? Well, they're thinking about a highly improvisational president responding to these daily pieces of news, and they will have to sit in judgment, but also...
But they won't know what his tweets are while it's going on until they leave the room. Right. So it'll be a full day of trial, and they won't know what the president thinks.
And yet they are not unfamiliar with not knowing what the president thinks.
Even when you hear what he says.
But it's, and if you think about, one of the things that's extraordinary is we're about a month into this, and there is still not a single line about what the president did or didn't do with respect to Ukraine.
You've asked this question several times on Twitter that I really like. Could you phrase this, break down the question for us?
Well, I think for me the main question is it that the president did not try to get Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden? Is that it didn't happen at all? Or is it that he tried to do it and it failed? And that's okay. So it's either he didn't do it at all or he did and it's okay. But you're getting two different things. The president's saying he didn't do it at all. It wasn't his intent. Then you have other people, Wall Street Journal editorial page, for example, that says, sure, it was self-serving, but it's not worth impeaching him over. But there's still no single line. It seems to me that after a month, there should be one answer.
Well, and there's Lindsey Graham's response, which is, I don't know how to read.
Here's the problem, though, it seems to me, though, if you say, yes, the president did what is alleged, but it's not impeachable. What you then seem to be also signing up for is, well, the president said he didn't do it. So the president, if you buy this line of thinking, then the president lied to the public, to senators, and to American ambassadors. So then you have to say, well, doing that is wrong but not impeachable. Then you have to think of all the things that were done in defense of the president, which includes besmirching the reputation of those people who have now been proved right. You have to say, well, that was wrong, but not impeachable. So you're signing up for a lot if you say the actual conduct of the president was wrong, but not impeachable. And I don't know if those who hold the wrong, but not impeachable position understand the kind of basket of goods that they're signing on to if that's what they decide to do.
All they have to do is be okay with the president having lied. And after 11,000 lies, that's just a needle in a crap stack.
Well, in this case, what you have, the question at issue here is whether the president warped the U.S. foreign policy for personal goals. It's okay for the president to use statecraft, but he has to use it for the state, not for himself. And so that is a bigger and more monumental thing than the crowd size at his inauguration. And it also, secondarily, you have this other thing, which is once the president initiated, and I'm not saying this has been proved, I'm saying if you go down this road, once a president initiates behavior, the system takes it over. So ambassadors start being launched. Other ambassadors are brought back. People start defending the president. There's lots and lots of ripples here. And then the president also created what was called the irregular channel by Bill Taylor. That's going around U.S. policy. Now,
that's Rudy Giuliani.
That's Rudy Giuliani, yes. And so are people okay with creating an entirely new conduit for U.S. foreign policy? They might be. But what was the purpose of that conduit? Is it okay to create a kind of lane around if it's just for the service of the president's personal political gain? Those are a lot of more serious level questions than some of the things that would have been marked down as lies in the past, I think.
There are, experts are saying this could be wrapped up by Christmas. You're an expert. Do you think this will be wrapped up for Christmas? Are we having an impeachment underneath the Christmas tree on the December 25th?
Well, I don't know. That would be about 3 weeks because they're going to take a week off probably for Thanksgiving. So that would be very fast. And I mean, I suppose they can, look, they have the majority in the House. They could do this as fast as they'd like. The question is, what's their goal? Do they really want to try and have something airtight to go to trial in the Senate? Are they just trying to do something, you know, to make have a message point about the president? It depends on what their goal is. But that'll be quite fast if they do that. And another argument you can make is, well, it's that fast because they have a pretty clear narrative and their witnesses are career Foreign Service officers, lieutenant colonels in the Army, who tend to be sort of more credible than your sort of typical partisan hack, which is what most of our debates are occupied by.
Some people are being called to testify and they're just not showing up. Yeah. Like Bolton, who's supposed to testify today, just didn't show up. But he's indicated that he's willing to if they take him to court to show up.
If they, and if they subpoena him and they take him to court, then he might show. The Washington Post has a piece that say people close to Bolton say he will show up.
But Schiff is saying we're not going to do that. We're just going to write that down as another form of obstruction by not showing up.
It depends. Yes, Schiff doesn't want to go spend a lot of time in the court
because that's a briar patch.
Right, it's a briar patch, gets drawn out, and it they think hurts them politically with the Democrats. But if Bolton were to come and talk, it's yet another fact witness. I mean, he compared, according to the reporting, what Rudy Giuliani was doing. He called it a drug deal or something. I mean, so
and that Giuliani is a hand grenade.
Yeah. So that's not good.
Yeah. And no one can find the pin.
But we don't know. But, you know, once you have all of these separate characters saying a version of the same thing without having coordinated their stories, it tends to, in traditional American politics, it tends to strengthen the story. And so he would be another person. Also, he was there while the policy was being made or unmade, as the case may be.
Last question. How goes the Republic?
Fine. We're fine. We're fine. We are a durable.
Really?
We are a durable.
That's good to hear.
We are a durable country, and we've been through a whole lot worse. And we have good people in this country, present company excluded.
John, thank you so much. You can see him on 60 Minutes right here on CBS. It's a pretty good show. John Dickerson, everybody. We'll be right